Cyberpunk 2077 is a fantastic game. However, CD Projekt Red has tainted the release of what is probably one of the greatest games in the last 10 years by lying about its readiness and its ability to play on older generation consoles. Hi, I'm Zach Renfro, and today we're going to examine the business ethics of CD Projekt Red, and we're going to determine from a Kantian and a Utilitarian standpoint whether or not it is ethical to lie to your consumers in order to increase your short-term sales. I hope you will enjoy watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. And if you stick around to the end, I will share my top 3 business ethics journals with you in case you are a student or someone who's just genuinely interested in business ethics. CD Projekt Red had built up a strong amount of goodwill with consumers due to their customer-friendly practices over the last few years. However, it seems that a lot of that goodwill has faded away due to the botched release of Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk was released on the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series S, Google Stadia, and for Windows and Mac. On higher-end systems such as the PS5 and the Xbox Series S, as well as on high-end computers, Cyberpunk seems to run very well. And from my own experience, playing a little and watching someone else play, I didn't encounter any major game-breaking issues or even any graphical errors. However, we were playing it on his $3,000 computer, which apparently does make a difference. The issue appears to be in the optimization of the game. The game is not properly optimized for lower-end systems or for consoles such as the PS4 or the Xbox One, which, although still relatively new in 2020, are not capable of easily running the intense graphics that Cyberpunk 2077 uses. In more normal times, releasing a game which doesn't run well on all systems is usually not a death blow for a company or a death blow for an IP. However, these are not normal times. From the start of 2020, consumers ought to have been nervous about the state of readiness of Cyberpunk 2077. However, CD Projekt Red had earned a lot of goodwill with consumers, so consumers didn't doubt or distrust them whenever they offered strange explanations or had strange requirements for reviewers. They didn't offer reviewers a chance to play PS4 or Xbox One versions of the game, and those that they did give PC review codes to, they required them to use footage and images that had already been pre-approved. This, of course, indicates that they had something to hide and that they were well aware of the state of the game very early in the year. However, they did not make necessary steps to try and improve it. The crux of the issue is that for many consumers who bought Cyberpunk, what they received was a broken product and broken promises. The developers of Cyberpunk had promised that the game would be ready on all platforms and all systems on its release date of December 10th. However, that was not delivered upon. Consumers were left out in the cold wondering if and when they would receive patches to repair their broken games. Initially, CD Projekt Red didn't offer any special treatments for consumers and did not offer ways to remedy this problem. It was not until consumers began complaining on social media that CD Projekt Red announced a very strong return and refund policy, allowing people to receive refunds on all platforms and all systems, including physical copies which they had purchased. Now, it's quite obvious the reason they did this was to try and capture pre-Christmas sales for Cyberpunk. And one can assume that they were hoping that releasing broken or buggy versions of the games for the PS4 and Xbox One would not lead to a massive backlash among the customer base. Again, these are customers that have been conditioned by companies such as Bethesda to accept broken products and broken promises with the hopes that they will someday be repaired. The crux of the issue comes down to, when does marketing puffery become outright lies and deceit? Puffery is the use of subjective language meant to entice customers to buy a product. So for example, a company marketing a beer might say that this beer makes you feel happy, or that this beer will let you have a good time. A video game company might say that this game might be the most fun you've had all year. They might say something to the effect of, enjoy graphics like you've never seen before. Well, those statements, particularly the graphics statements, they can't be really quantified. What has or has not been seen before by a consumer is entirely subjective. So for someone like me, who's not a huge gamer, seeing Cyberpunk for the first time, I was amazed by the graphics, the pictures, the way the light interacted with the characters on the game. However, for someone who's a hardcore dedicated gamer, they may or may not have found that very impressive. Now, marketing lies occur when a company makes statements that can be objectively falsified. So for example, saying this game will be ready and available to play on all systems by December 10th. That is something that can be objectively falsified, and if it turns out not to be true, is a marketing lie. It's a deceit. Another example might be saying that this game will run on the PS4 and the Xbox One, but then it not properly run on the PS4 or the Xbox One. Or another example might be saying that the AI works in all situations, when in fact the AI sometimes does not work. So to really get into the ethics of the situation, we have to first kind of lay a ground rule, a kind of basis. When we're discussing a company such as CD Projekt Red, we're going to describe them in the same way that we would describe a person. And in fact, in many countries under the law, corporations are considered legal persons. This allows for corporations, which are the collective actions and a collective identity of a large number of people, it allows them to be held responsible if some conglomeration of the people decides to make a bad decision. This one makes it easy to levy taxes, fees, and fines on corporations, as well as makes it easy to discuss them in common conversation. So, when looking at the ethics of the situation, a good place to start is with the Kantian view. Kant believes that all ethics should follow the categorical imperative. Within his Metaphysics of Morals, he lays out several different variations of the categorical imperative. And to most lay readers, it will appear like a modified version of the Golden Rule. The Golden Rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. However, the categorical imperative is a little bit different. It is do only those actions which you yourself would have be universalized among all people. So for example, you wouldn't want it to be universalized that you could lie in order to make sales. Because if that were a universalized principle, then that would mean that all companies would be able to directly lie in order to make sales. Additionally, Kant held that groups such as governments and organizations held responsibility to the people which they served. For a corporation such as CD Projekt Red, they have a certain special trust that consumers have given them. That trust is something which ought not be violated due to their nature being an organization comprised of large masses of people working towards a common goal with a unified will. They're able to accomplish great and terrible things. If, even for a moment, corporations' integrity begins to slip, then they will go from being organizations built and developed to improve our lives through goods and services, to corporations meant to harm and oppress us by using us merely as money pumps or money machines in order to enrich them. Within the Kantian system, actions are only moral if they are done from a sense of duty rather than inclination, desire, or instinct. Saving someone from drowning because you instinctually jump in does not have the same weight within the Kantian system as saving someone from drowning because you have a duty to save them, such as if you're a lifeguard. So, corporations within the Kantian extent must be moral in order to fulfill their duties. Corporations which are not moral lose their special protections as organizations meant to offer goods and services to people. Corporations that are not moral could be seen as outlaw corporations. Corporations which are outlaw corporations and do not act ethically are not participating within the realm of public reason. They're not operating in ways which one would expect or hope that a corporation would operate within. And they're failing to protect and provide for their consumers and stakeholders in a way which would not really be allowed within a Kantian cosmopolitan system. The crux of the issue comes down to the fact that they did not operate from a proper sense of moral duty, and they did not provide for consumers' well-being in a way that they would be expected to as a corporation hoping to profit off of those consumers. By lying about the readiness of Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red acted in a way that was not universalizable and did not fulfill the duties expected of them as a corporation hoping to profit off of the individuals in which they sold the game to. In effect, they were not creating a mutually beneficial relationship. If all companies could lie about the readiness or lie about significant issues related to their products, then the global marketplace could not function, which would lead to the inability of consumers to act democratically within the marketplace by spending their money to acquire goods and services which fit their needs and values. See, the marketplace operates in a somewhat democratic fashion, where companies which fulfill the public need and earn public trust are able to receive support from consumers on the basis of goodwill and profits earned from product sales, which allows the corporation to continue operating over time. If a company is allowed to or able to lie within its marketing about significant issues related to its product, then consumers cannot know which products to trust and cannot know which corporations to trust, which leads to the crumbling of the capitalistic system due to the consumers being unable to act democratically within the process. However, as bleak as the Kantian view is, what do the utilitarians have to say about it? The utilitarian view is that the rightness or wrongness of an action is purely dependent on its outcomes, whether or not it increases the net utility in the world, using a type of utilitarian calculus where good actions are those actions which increase net happiness, and bad actions are those actions which decrease net happiness. However, over the years, utilitarianism has taken a lot of different forms. Whether it's the more hedonistic view of Bentham, the more rules and virtue-based form of John Stuart Mill, or the more modern view of R.M. Hare, the concept has morphed ever so slightly, and this can lead to situations where something which is ethical under one philosopher is not ethical under another. However, within our discussion, we'll just try and keep it simple. We'll stick to the concept of utility being the action which provides the most net happiness, where happiness is the long-term and short-term striving towards eudaimonia, rather than just a mere transitory moment. So whether CD Projekt Red's actions were ethical within the utilitarian view can be a bit tricky. On the one hand, those people that got Cyberpunk on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X were able to play and enjoy the game with a minimal amount of bugs and issues, serious issues, which prevented their enjoyment of the game. And one could argue that taking part in a game which features Keanu Reeves and themes of life and death and the soul and transhumanism, one could say that taking part in a game such as that is likely, as long as the experience is halfway decent, to increase one's net happiness and allow one to more easily strive towards eudaimonia. However, their short-sighted actions could lead to situations where large numbers of their staff could get laid off due to lawsuits, shareholder loss of confidence, or the inability to gain back consumer trust in a way which they had before, which leads to reduced sales over a long period of time. A situation which could be seen as moral and ethical from a more short-term view, when taken for a longer look, could seem to be immoral or unethical. A situation which could lead to the firing of large numbers of staff or the inability for the corporation to continue on would likely be very harmful to the livelihoods of many, many people. When the livelihoods of large numbers of people are threatened, that shifts the utilitarian calculus from an action being potentially ethical or possibly very ethical to being unethical. Because even if none of the greater economic concerns occur, which one would be fearful might occur from this situation, there's significant damage brought to the employees of CD Projekt Red as well as any subcontractors who could now see their livelihoods disappear or who could see future contract opportunities to work with CD Projekt Red disappear. So from a utilitarian calculus, it would appear that releasing a broken and buggy game and lying about it prior to release could possibly be ethical in the short term. However, it is likely to be unethical when looked at over a long period of time, especially if very serious negative repercussions occur, such as class action lawsuits, loss of investor confidence, or the inability to achieve strong sales numbers due to lost public goodwill. However, it's not all doom and gloom for CD Projekt Red. They've announced a very strong refund policy aimed at regaining consumer trust over the long term. This should allow them to rebuild consumer confidence and, with their future releases, achieve strong sales, as well as maintain strong sales numbers for Cyberpunk 2077. Additionally, CD Projekt Red has announced their willingness to develop and maintain patches for Cyberpunk in order to ease consumer concerns that the game might not ever be in working condition. Producing patches and offering refunds is a very ethical action. It allows them to show consumers that they realize they've made a mistake and that they hope to repair the damaged trust and maintain a long-term relationship. From a Kantian perspective, one would see that it fulfills duties towards consumers, and one would see that it is an action which is universalizable. One would hope that any company which released, whether intentionally or unintentionally, a broken, buggy, or glitchy product would allow consumers to return that product with minimal hassle. Offering patches and support to those who don't wish to return the game to try and repair the game to a working status is also a very ethical action. It is universalizable in that one would hope that any company which released a broken or buggy game would make efforts and amends to try and get that game up to a functional state. From a utilitarian perspective, offering refunds is a very ethical action because for those people who received a broken copy of Cyberpunk, their net happiness will be improved by allowing them to return it and spend their money on something else which they will be able to get more happiness from. Offering to patch and repair the broken game is also a positive action because for consumers who don't wish to return the product, it allows them to achieve greater net happiness over the long run by allowing them to play the game which they had so long hoped to get to play. Additionally, offering patches and refunds should have better consequences for CD Projekt Red by allowing them to rebuild consumer trust, allowing them to maintain their staff over a longer period of time, maintaining strong investor relationships, and hopefully fending off some legal liability due to their prior unethical actions. So overall, CD Projekt Red is doing the right thing by attempting to offer refunds and by attempting to patch the game and get it into a working state. I hope that as time continues to go on that they will continue to do the right thing and that this game will be playable for people on the Xbox One and on the PS4 so that all people can take part in the wonderful story that it has to offer. Links to some excellent analysis by the Actman and JuiceHead will be listed down below. For those of you who stuck around for the end of the video, I'm now going to tell you the top 3 business ethics journals. My first pick is the Journal of Business Ethics. My second pick is Business Ethics Quarterly. And my third pick is the Business and Society Review. Links to all these journals will be listed down below. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I've enjoyed recording it. And if you like this video, please leave a like. If you didn't like this video, please leave a dislike. Feel free to share, subscribe, comment. And until next time, I will see you in the future.